What happens when a young woman walks into a male dominated industry in the 1980s and ends up owning the boardroom 2 decades later? Meet Doris Valade, an entrepreneur who didn't just break the glass ceiling, she dismantled the whole frame. Doris built Malabar Super Spice Company, a specialty food manufacturing company from the ground up, eventually scaling it into a national success story and selling it after more than 30 years at the helm. But her story isn't just about seasoning blends or market expansion. It's about navigating resistance, burnout, reinvention, and redefining success on her own terms. After exiting her company, Doris did not fade into the background. She leaned in. Today, she coaches CEOs and business owners with the same candor and clarity that helped her lead a manufacturing business through generational change, market disruption, and personal transformation. Doris has lived what most entrepreneurs only read about. Her insights cut through the fluff and come from decades in the trenches. Whether you're growing your first business or preparing for your last exit, Doris brings a kind of grounded wisdom that stops you mid sentence. This is the conversation you didn't know that you needed from someone who's been exactly where you are and knows exactly where it leads. And before we hop into the podcast, a quick word from our sponsor, Deep Wealth and the Deep Wealth Mastery Program. We have William, a graduate of Deep Wealth Mastery, and he says, I didn't have the time for Deep Wealth Mastery, but I made the time and I'm glad I did. What I learned goes far beyond any other executive program or coach I've ever experienced. Or how about Bruce? Bruce says, before Deep Wealth Mastery, the challenge I had with most business programs, coaches, or books was that they were one dimensional. Through Deep Wealth Mastery, I'm part of a richer community of other successful business owners. The idea shared forever changed the trajectory of the business, and best of all, the experience was fun. And we'll round things out with Stacy. Stacy said, I wish I had access to the Deep Wealth Mastery before my liquidity event, as it would have been extremely helpful. Deep Wealth Mastery exceeded my expectations in terms of content and quality. And you know what, my Deep Wealth Nation, why they're saying this is because Deep Wealth Mastery, it's the only system based on a 9-figure deal. That was my deal. And as you know, I said no to a 7-figure offer, and I created a system that we now call Deep Wealth Mastery that helped myself and my business partners welcome from a different buyer, a different offer, a 9-figure exit. So if you're interested in growing your profits, preparing for a future liquidity event, if that's 2 years away or 20 years away, and you want to optimize your post-exit life, Deep Wealth Mastery is for you. Please email success@deepwealth.com. Again, that's success, SUCCESS at deepwealth.com. We'll send you all the information about Deep Wealth Mastery, otherwise known as Scale for Ultimate Sale. That's where you want to be. You want to be with other successful business owners, entrepreneurs, and founders just like you who are looking to create market disruptions, and they want to lock in their financial freedom and have success and fulfillment. That's the 90-day Deep Wealth Mastery Program. It has your name on it. All you need to do is take the next step. Send an email to success@deepwealth.com. Welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast. Deep Wealth Nation, we have an esteemed friend, post-exit entrepreneur, an elder, an angel investor back on the Deep Wealth Podcast. Doris, welcome back. You and I had such a lovely call the other time. And on that podcast that we had, by the way, Deep Wealth Nation, we'll put all that in the show notes. We were talking about your post-exit life. We've had 2 episodes about your exit and what you did to get to your exit, then being an elder and helping other post-exit entrepreneurs really transition into that chapter. But you're multifaceted because in addition to being a mentor and a coach for post-exit entrepreneurs, you're also an angel investor. And after that interview, we said, hey, why don't we have another one here? We had so much fun. I'll use the F word and talk about angel investing and your role in that. So welcome back to Deep Wealth Podcast. And Doris, for our new community members in the Deep Wealth Nation, we are growing by leaps and bounds. We'll link for them, the other episodes that we've done. But really, what's been going on since we last spoke? What's the story behind the story post-exit? What's been going on?
Thanks, Jeffrey, and it's always a pleasure. I love our conversations, and I certainly love the opportunity to kind of reach out there and tell stories, because that's what life is all about. So post-exit in selling my company, after 35 years and 60-hour work weeks, and then going through COVID, post-exit was definitely a journey. There was a lot of ups and downs, trying to figure out what I was going to do next, even figuring out who I was, because I was no longer president of a company, which was my identity for so many years. And so I started to reach out and think about, well, what do I like? What do I enjoy? What do I want to do? What's out there? Where can I bring value? Where can I give back? And where can I keep learning? Because curiosity is what kind of keeps us going. And especially after we've closed a chapter, it's the curiosity that takes us into what's possible out there. So one of the things that I did is looked at some charity work. And there's so many ways to volunteer, but I wanted to do something really local. So I ended up starting a small chapter of 100 Women Who Care. So that's here in Flamborough, Waterdown, which is in my area. And it's a chapter of a giving circle that is worldwide. But I wanted something very local. So this chapter gave me that opportunity. I had two friends that I asked to help me. Very straightforward. And in the 100 Women Who Care, we meet 4 times a year. And each of the ladies come with the commitment to provide a $100 donation. During our 1 hour meeting, we have a presentation from 3 local charities, and they must be local. And at the end of the 1 hour, all of the ladies then vote on which charity they wish to support. So the goal is to have 100 members, and at $100, that's $10,000 donation at the end of 1 hour. So we are up to 70 ladies in our local chapter, which we are just thrilled with. And we have supported some local charities that nobody had even heard of. And many of them don't even get any other support. So one good example would be Migrants Matter, which is our local farming community, brings in a lot of immigrants to help during the summer. Well, some of them stay through the winter and have no coats or boots because they don't know what winter is in Canada. So we actually supported Migrants Matter and provided those boots and coats that they wouldn't have had otherwise. So that was a nice piece of my journey. However, I missed the business component. I missed being involved in what innovations are out there. So I came across Angel One, which is a group of angel investors that meet, and I was invited to attend the first meeting just to see what it's all about because I had no idea. A lot of people don't realize what angel investors do, where they are. And so I went to the first meeting. It was in Burlington, and I was hooked. So with angel investing, it's not only about the capital investment, but there's also the giving back in mentoring, in networking, and in learning about the startups. And we also get them in different segments. Med tech is a big one. FinTech is a big one. I'm encouraging those to come out of the food industry because my background was in food manufacturing. As an angel investor, it's been a lot of fun and met some great people and some great entrepreneurs.
And so, Doris, we're going to do a deep dive on what it's like for you sitting on the other side of the table in terms of, am I going to invest in this company? Perhaps I can mentor them. Perhaps I'm going to say thank you, but no thank you. Before we do that, though, as I'm listening to your story and as I've gotten to know you really over the years, and as we spoke about last time, you're one of our first interviews on the Default podcast. It was lockdown, it was COVID, and I was struggling behind the microphone. You were gracious enough. And actually, you came back a second time after that one during COVID still to help out and pay it forward. And Doris, for me, that's your theme, helping others, giving back, paying it forward, despite how busy you are in what's going on in your world. And so before we go into angel investing and what all that is looking like and what we should really know about that, I know there are people in Default Nation that are saying, hey, that's great that Doris can find the time to give back and volunteer and be part of the community or the entrepreneurial community, whatever the case may be. I'm just too busy. I don't have time for that. When my business grows up, maybe I'll do that. Or when I sell my business, maybe I'll do that. And Doris, my own data point one, having been on both sides of the table, without judgment, I'm going to say, hey, friend, that's probably the wrong attitude. And you probably want to find ways to carve out some time now. But that's just me. Where are you on that in terms of why did you make the sacrifice? Find that time when you didn't have time to give back, even when you were building Malabar, your original company, to take it to new levels, to new heights and dominate the industry.
That's an interesting question. And certainly when I look at the members in Angel One, they aren't all retired. Okay. And they aren't all multi-billionaires or multi-millionaires. We have some in the banking industry. Many of them are still working full time. Some are semi-retired. So it is a whole mix. And what's common to all of them is the opportunity to give back, to help those around us that we know when you're starting a business, it's a very lonely place to be. And the more you build your network, the better chances you have for success. So for most of the members in Angel One, it's only a 2.5 hour commitment once a month. Okay. So that's not a big commitment. And if you can't find 2.5 hours in a month, then there's some time management issues possibly. And with that, I think there's a piece in all of us as we've gone through the ups and downs of whether it's starting a business, running a business, or even being in corporate management. There's a piece of us that have learned so many lessons that we would love to share. And that's truly what angel investing is all about. We don't just share capital, we share what we've learned, we mentor, we provide them with feedback on how to then progress their company so that they can reach out for capital. So they're not stuck because they don't have any money, but they have a great idea or a great innovation.
What's interesting about that, as you're walking us through your mindset and more importantly, how you're feeling, not to put words in your mouth, and you can share Jeffrey on base or off base, when you're volunteering, when you're giving of your time, literally, it sounds as though number one, it's giving you joy and fulfillment. And there's that old saying that oftentimes the giver receives more or gets more than the receiver. Not that we're going into it expecting, oh, this person's going to owe me or I'm doing this because I want to get that. We're doing it from, I'm going to be selfless in this. I'm doing it because I can help someone else, not expecting anything in return. But oftentimes we do get more in return unexpectedly from, to your point, lessons learned. I'm also hearing you say, yes, you're helping other people. And at the same time, you're also helping yourself in terms of building out a network for those, well, just in case, or wow, I never knew I need to know someone in this industry, but I do. Let me reach out. How am I doing with that?
No, that's very true. So through Angel One, I've made a number of very new friends who all share similar interests. And as I think I mentioned earlier, one of them is our curiosity to learn more about what's happening out there. Because I'm not going into work every day and I'm not having some of the same network that I had before, I still want to know what's happening in technology, what's happening in startups, in entrepreneurs. What are their challenges that I can help with? And so the value that I get is not only the opportunity to share, but to hear their stories and to let them know that they're not alone. So going back to some of the areas, we get presentations once a month from 3 to 5 different startups. And some of the new medical technologies that are coming out, I would never have known some of them in terms of some of the medical devices that are coming on the forefront. We had another company on drones and how manufacturing of drones is helping out in the mining industry, for example. We had a pair of ladies in one of our meetings who presented a whole line of women's slippers, but that were customized in such a way that they provided more comfort and more breathability than your standard slipper, for example. So that is so interesting to those of us that want to learn more, that want to see more. So that's one of the greatest benefits, along with the new friends that I've made, that I've pulled out of the whole angel investing ecosystem.
Wow. Okay. And what I really admire with your particular situation, Doris, I'm going to talk about this now. You've been on both sides of the table. Not everyone can say that. You've been there as an entrepreneur. You're bootstrapping it. You're getting the company out there. Later on, you're at the deal table. You had a very successful exit. You did some incredible things, which we talked about in our earlier episodes. I'll have a link to all those episodes in the show notes. And now you're still in the entrepreneurial mode, more from an investment side. And there's a difference. There's a difference in mindset. There's a difference in how we look at the world. So I know as entrepreneurs, the glass is always, at least for me, the glass is always half full. And it's going to be great. I'll figure this out. Yeah, I will do it. When it comes to investing and getting up in front of oftentimes our peers, well, it's a different set of rules. It's a different game. And for some of us, perhaps we've never played that before. So let's look at, for the moment, the glass half empty. And we'll get to the glass half full shortly. Glass half empty, though, when you're seeing these pitches from companies that really do need the capital, they're a real entity. They could prosper from this infusion of capital, but they're getting it all wrong. And you're walking away, you're saying, I love what you're doing. I just can't write the check for you. Now, every company's different. I get it. Everyone's journey is going to be unique. That said, as we've shared on other episodes, is Pareto's law at play here? Yeah, Jeffrey, 20% of the same issues I'm seeing again and again of what they're either doing or not doing are creating 80% of the perhaps mistakes or missed opportunities Are there patterns that you're seeing, and what will those be?
Yes. So I also sit on the volunteer screening committee with Angel One. So we then get the pitches from a number of different startups and we provide our feedback and then also make the decision as to who will go on to our monthly meetings. And you're right, being prepared and knowing concisely and clearly what your company has to offer is fundamental then to the presentation, to the approach that you have to potential investors, even to potentially to those who can help you in other ways. And through the screening committee, we provide feedback on the pitch, but also some feedback onto where some of the weaknesses are in the pitch itself, which can also identify some of the weaknesses in the startup company and possibly some of the weaknesses that the business leader has as well. So whether it's from communication, whether it's how strong is their leadership team, whether it's making their pitch more concise to a broader audience so that we can understand it. And then also in terms of them understanding their product as well as where the revenue is going to come from. We do get a number of pre-seed pitches, which is very early stage startups. So we're not looking for them to make millions of dollars, but we do want to have the confidence that they have the potential to earn millions of dollars. And so we love to help them to develop that potential. So in whether it's with the mentoring, we also guide with the pitches. We encourage them to come back and pitch again. We also encourage them to expand their network, including some of us as angel investors. I sit on the advisory board of one of the companies that I did decide to invest in. So it doesn't have to be half full, as you put it, if you're willing to be open to improvement, to feedback, to support, and to just learning. So a lot of them know their product really well, but they don't have the business foundation.
So let's talk about that then. And I know, Doris, we could have, forget an episode. It could be an entire series on every single one of these issues. And by the way, as you're talking mentally in my mind, I'm going through the Deep Wealth, our mastery program, our 9-step roadmap, which is perfect for startups that are looking to get that angel investment in addition to the more established companies that are already out there. That said, if you could pick, it's not really a fair question, but if you could pick one action, one preparation strategy that a company could do, they're saying, okay, we're starting up right now. We know we're going to be asking for some kind of infusion of capital. Perhaps we're going to be going to Angel One or looking to get some investment very early on in the company. If they could do one thing, what would that low hanging fruit be that, okay, I'm going to do this one thing and it's going to really help pave the way? Maybe in and of itself, it's not going to be the only thing to have them cross the finish line, but it'll really make a difference and help them get there sooner than later.
Probably my primary recommendation would be for them to reach out to local innovation hubs. Or, for example, close to where I am, there's the Innovation Factory. They provide a great portal for startups that really would like some feedback, some help, very early stage, and they want some exposure, as well as some guidance. You can even just go through your local business center. There's entrepreneur centers in every region. Start there, reach out and say, how can you help me? How can you help me to grow my business?
So we're going to these innovation hubs
Yeah.
and very early on, and we're asking for help. And I know for a lot of entrepreneurs, I'm going to put myself in this category. I've become better at it. I'm still practicing and I'm still falling down and picking myself back up. I'm more than happy to give. Receiving and getting help oftentimes is a challenge for me. So when we're asking for help, what specifically should we be asking for at an innovation hub, as an example?
So again, it would depend on what level you're at. If you're very early startup and you haven't even put a pitch together, innovation hubs will guide you and hold your hand, basically, to get that pitch put together and to provide feedback to make it effective, to make the most of your time when you're able to pitch to an angel investor, for example. If you need help with a business plan, and from a business plan, if you already have one, they'll provide guidance on putting a strategy of growth together. And if nothing else, just feedback from another pair of eyes and another business mind that's objective to what you do every day. You're in the trenches every day. It's very easy for a young company to get lost in the trees An innovation center will pull you out of the trees and help you to look at the forest of your business,
Okay.
which can certainly open some opportunities for you and perhaps give you a different perspective.
Okay. Excellent advice. Now let's work it backwards. Let's start at the very end and we're going to work that back. So when we're going to an innovation hub or we're going to Angel One or an investor, we've actually got most things right, if not everything, as much as one can. And so you're sitting across the table now. Let's fast forward to a company is pitching you, Doris at Angel One, Doris as an investor, and they're saying, write the check, regardless of what that amount is. So, Doris, what are you looking for? Now, this is the glass half full. What are you looking for, whether it's a formal checklist that you have or something in your mind, a mental checklist? Okay, do they have this? Yes, check. Do they have that? Yes, they do. Are they doing this? Oh, yes. Is this in there? Yes, it is. Okay, terrific. I'm going to take that risk. I'm going to write the check. What does that look for? What's your criteria?
Okay. So with Angel One, because I know them the best, but I know the other angel groups across North America, is that with Angel One, are in the process of putting a checklist together because we get asked that question quite a bit. And there's some common points that we do look for in the pitch and in the presenter, the company owner. And so with that top of mind, and this was instrumental in one of the companies that I chose to invest in, was the owner themselves. And with connecting with the owner, and I met with the business owner after he made his presentation. I was interested in the product, but I was more interested in him and his ability to understand business, to understand what his weaknesses were, and to see how well he listened. Because listening becomes the key to business growth, no matter what size your business is, small, medium, or large. If you don't know how to listen, you're going to miss so much potential, both for yourself and for the company. In fact, that is the number one thing I looked for. And I connected very well with the business owner, and we are in touch every 3 months. I get updates. He asks for help where it's needed. He's open to my suggestions. And so that would be one of the key considerations.
Okay, so interesting. Not to put words in your mouth, and again, you can say Jeffrey on base or off base. I'm hearing that style over substance. So, in other words, I can have the world's best presentation. If, as the founder, I'm presenting and maybe there's something off with me or my interactions with you or whatever the case is going to be, it's just perhaps having you walk away saying, I'm not so sure about that, Jeffrey. Yeah, great idea. Terrific company. The execution looks pretty good, but yeah, that Jeffrey, I don't know. So I'm hearing you say that that could dissuade you from investing in a company if you're not feeling perhaps it's that chemistry or that belief in that founder.
And that's true. And it will generally come across in the pitch that they do.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we get pitches that are so technical. So, for example, with some of the medical devices, and they go off on a tangent about all the technical aspects of the medical device, when in fact, we really first want to hear their story. Why did they come up with this idea? Why did they develop this product? Why are they so passionate about it? And how can they show that passion to us? Because if you're not passionate about your product, you're not going to sell anything.
Interesting.
So, so that's in the pitch. We can get some that are so complicated, so drawn out, and they throw all kinds of numbers out there. They tend to over-impress instead of letting us in to who they are first and how they started their own journey.
Interesting. So, Doris, this is going to be a real tough question. I have to ask it though, and you would be perfectly right to say, well, Jeffrey, listen, every entrepreneur, every founder, business owner, it's different. They're on their own path. I can't prescribe something, generally speaking, but that's exactly what I'm asking. So, if I'm listening to the two of us talk, and perhaps I'm a founder who's amazing on the technical side, but when it comes to getting up in front of people and giving that pitch, wow, that terrifies me. I would rather go to the dentist than do that. I'm just not comfortable in front of people. And by the way, that's the early Jeffrey. I would get up in front of people. I'd be sweating buckets before I even got up on stage or in front of people. Thankfully, I figured that out. What can I be doing? This has nothing to do with business. What do I need to do to work on myself before I ever get in a room of possible investors like yourself and give my pitch? What should that be looking like?
So quite often we will look at the support team that the entrepreneur has.
Okay.
And we'll use medical devices again because it is so technical. We will see that their list of advisors are all doctors,
Okay.
and all researchers, which is wonderful. You need that. But then our next question is, who is your business advisor? Who is guiding you on the business aspect outside of the medical devices?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what you need.
Mm-hmm.
And with a business advisor, will provide you the connections, whether you take on your own business coach, whether you reach out to a hub then to do the pitch separate from the doctors and researchers that you have. But you do need that support on the business side, and it's out there.
Okay. So what I'm hearing you say is, well, hey, Jeffrey, it's not just about you. It is about you, but it's also who have you surrounded yourself with. So as an example, Jeffrey, you're the world's super geek. You're incredible at that, whatever area that's going to be. But you have an advisory board, or you have mentors or coaches around you
Mm-hmm.
who can cover off your blind spots, your weak
Good.
spots. That's going to, as you, Doris, data point of one here for you, but it's going to give you some reassurances. Okay, maybe Jeffrey doesn't have it quite himself in that area. He has a solid team around him.
Yep, that's very true. And it makes all the difference. And the earlier you start doing that, the sooner you will have success in what you're doing.
Hmm.
And then the sooner you can grow the business and hopefully maybe one day sell it.
Okay, and that's a whole other conversation. You and I have spoken about that many a times. And
Yes.
again, in People Nation in the show notes, there'll be links about that. So, Doris, on a 100-point scale, in terms of the founder and the team around the founder, not necessarily only employees. It could be mentors, it could be a board, it could be advisors around that particular founder. Out of 100, how many points are you giving towards, well, how does a founder present him or herself, and what kind of people and resources does a founder surround him or herself with? What would that be out of subjectively?
Oh, goodness, that's right up there. I'm going to say 80.
Okay. You know, what's interesting about that, it's maybe the good old Pareto's Law, the 80-20. So you're saying, hey, 80% of my evaluation, of my decision for a go or no go, 80% of that, it's not on the numbers, it's not on the projections, it's not even on the company itself, it's on the founder and the people surrounding the founder. And what's interesting, you said 80, and Deep Nation, I promise you, Doris and I did not speak before this episode about this. Doris, I've had valuators come onto the Deep podcast, and they've said the exact same thing. Jeffrey, 80% of my valuation number, it's all about the narrative. I don't even look at the
Yeah,
profit and loss. I don't even look at the projections. If that narrative, and to me, the narrative is not just a story about the company, it's the story about the founder. It's the people around the founder, the team members. So for evaluators that are doing this all day long, it's exactly the same for them. That 80% of their valuation number, it's all about the founder, the story
sure.
around the people, the team, and then the company. And then way behind that, it's the projections, the financials, all the number crunching. But that's
That's
a
right.
very distant second. Very interesting that you're
It
putting
is.
it in that order as well.
Okay. Yep. No, I couldn't agree more.
Okay, so let's keep on moving along this. So you're looking at the founder, the people around the founder, whether that's a board, whether that's team members, employees, whatever the case is going to be. Okay, so now we've got that down, that there's some comfort level there. Nothing's perfect, but okay, you know what? I have a chemistry with the founder, with the team. I believe in what they're doing. What are you looking for next?
Well, the other part of it for myself personally, as an angel investor, was understanding what they do, what their service is, what their product is. Okay. So I do lean towards food companies because, again, that's my background, and also the manufacturing side. So I don't have the medical background. So even though I find some of the medical innovations are amazing and it's tempting, I also then will watch out for some women founders. I don't focus only on women, but certainly a woman entrepreneur does have a very tough road ahead. And many investors don't have the same confidence necessarily in a woman entrepreneur as they do in the men. So I do watch for them. I do provide guidance. I do have two clients right now who are both women founders and just helping them a little bit more. And there's also a lot of women only venture capital groups now. Angel One, we're not selective, we're completely open. We look at the startup in terms of the overall potential. However, for some women founders, they might be more comfortable in a women only. So for myself, it's understanding the background and understanding the product or the service. And if it's too complicated, then I will shy away from it. because there has to be a comfort level for myself as well.
Okay. And so every angel investor is going to be different. But my takeaway here, Doris, from what you're saying, as a founder, know who I'm pitching against. And when I know who those people are as investors, do my own due diligence. Okay, what's
Yeah.
Doris? What's she all about? What are her interests? What's her focus? Oh, she had a food company. Oh, interesting. I have a company in the food space. Maybe that's going to be something that we can talk about. Or, okay, I noticed that she is really to support female entrepreneurs. Okay,
Mhm.
terrific. And so, really, for each angel investor or each investor, really, I am looking for, well, what's their interest? What's their background? Where are there some overlaps? Because it's that old saying, people want to do business with friends over strangers. And so, even though I'm walking in as a stranger to you, if I can walk out as a friend because we have some interests, we've talked about that. We have maybe even some common friends in our networks that know each other, and we're building that rapport, you're going to have a much better comfort level and an understanding of who I am, what I'm all about. How am I doing with that?
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's very true. That's very true. And yeah, it's like you're building your network. Okay, reaching out to different angel investment groups, adding to your network. You may not get the capital. However, it's not just about that. You're going to, as you mentioned, you may come across one or two potential advisors for your company or a mentor that will guide you. Also, it's, did you think about meeting this person, or what about this company? So there's introductions that can be made as well, which we love to do. So it's definitely many components to an angel investor. And it's not just the capital. And just as a footnote, when we do provide capital as an angel investor, because quite often our main focus is on early growth entrepreneurs, our investment could start at 25,000.
Mhm.
So as an investor, you don't have to be a billionaire or a multi-millionaire. All right. And as an Angel One member, we're not required to put in so much money regularly. The membership, actually, and our co chair, Anna Misra, says it very well in that it's really all about the people. And that is the foundation of the angel investment groups. Okay. It's about the people, whether it's the startups, whether it's the networks, whether it's making friends with other investors. So it's a very interesting segment that we encourage people to get involved with.
Hey, Doris, as you're talking about that, you're actually reminding me I've been mentoring a very young entrepreneur who came to me and was looking to get things going. I'm making some introductions, and he came back and said, hey, Jeffrey, one of the introductions that you made, they couldn't help me. And I said, well, go back to them and ask them if they know of someone who can. Because just because someone closes a door, it could be opening a door that you never even imagined. Went back and he got introduced to somebody else. And that other individual couldn't help. And I said, well, just go back and ask one more time for that other person. Do they know of somebody? A very long story short, yes, one of the introductions that said no, well, he got introduced to someone who said yes, and he now has an opportunity of a lifetime in front of him, and he's gone down that path. And it's just to your point, you're networking because I know for one person, well, they could introduce you, which would be a yes for another person. That's what I love about that. So if we're looking at things here now, so okay, take a step back. You've advised, okay, who I am as a person. I have to have some social intelligence around me, some emotional intelligence around me, and I'm showing up with a terrific team, and I have a wonderful narrative. And of course, we'll get to the numbers in just a moment. Once I have that, well, what do I know about the people that I'm pitching? Are there some areas and overlaps of interest that I should know about that can be some conversation starters when I walk into the room? Before we get to the numbers and the presentation itself and projections, anything else that you're considering as an investor that we haven't covered just yet?
I guess one of the other considerations is to know your numbers. You don't have to be an accountant. However, you do need a solid understanding of what your costs are for your product or your service, what your potential revenue is realistically, and some steps along the way as to how you plan to increase that revenue.
Okay.
Okay. And in many cases, we do hope that you have a good accountant on your team. Doesn't have to be a CFO. Okay. You're a small company, but certainly a good accountant that can help you with those numbers and that you're not doing that part alone if that's not your area of expertise.
Okay. And so let's talk about that. And actually, in the 9 step roadmap, step 3, future buyer, we talk a lot about projections and numbers and financial reports. And I suspect we're going to be saying the same things here. So, Doris, there's a way to do projections and there's a way not to do projections. Let's talk about what not to do for starters. So, when it comes to, I'm sharing projections with you of where we are today and where I expect to be in 1, 2, 3, 5 years from now. What should I not be doing?
Don't overvaluate your company, please, because we do ask as part of the reporting to do evaluation. And quite often they look to the moon. And that's all great. Okay. Reaching for the moon is not a bad thing. However, being realistic is also important. So, doing a realistic valuation.
Mhm.
And if you're not sure, again, reach out for some feedback as to ahead of time whether or not your valuation sounds realistic. So that's certainly one area. And on the projections, it's very hard to do a projection 5 or 10 years from now, but you can realistically do one for 1 to 2 years and then put in a multiple with the caveat that you don't fully understand yet where you're going to be 5 years from now because it's moving fast. So being honest is not a bad thing, but definitely knowing your audience.
Mhm.
If you're doing your pitch to a number of doctors, you can become more technical on the medical side. If you're doing more on the software side, you can provide some technical components in there. But
Mhm.
if you're doing one, for example, to Angel One, where we have a very diverse group of angel investors, some in the banking, a couple in the medical field, semi retired, some still working at corporate, to keep it more about you, why you're doing what you're doing, why you love what you're doing, and where you see the company going and why. So telling your story with some background is really the key.
And sometimes, as founders, we drink our own Kool Aid. And so we are showing up with these projections that we believe in. It's that good old hockey stick. It is just a straight shot up with revenue and it's going ballistic and we're creating market disruptions. On paper, it looks great. I'm hearing you say it's a red flag. So, how do I know, Doris, that what Jeffrey perhaps it's a little too optimistic. Why don't you tone it back? What would be some things that I can do just to make sure I'm not crossing that line with you?
And that's where you reach out. The importance of having an advisory, even 2 or 3 people around you, or even if you're part of an innovation hub, they'll provide you with some feedback. There are a lot of resources out there to get a more objective view of where your business is today and where it can go. So it's the reaching out for help and the asking. And you and I have talked about that so many times. And yet that's the foundation for any successful business is to ask for help, ask for guidance, ask for opinions, ask for introductions, ask for who can help me to do, okay, a more accurate projection, right? And with that, you may get one or two that say, I don't know.
Mhm.
Well, and like you said, then do you know of someone? It's never a waste of time. And the opportunities that come from that, and I found that personally in running my own company, and I see it every day in the startups that we help. Asking for help, assistance, advice is the foundation for any successful business.
And Doris, with that in mind, you said something that's very easy to gloss over. And Deep Wealth Nation, I hope you're paying attention. Because Doris, you're saying as an investor, and you can tell me, Jeffrey, on base or off base, what I'm hearing you say is, Jeffrey, as an investor, I don't want you to tell me you have all the answers because I know you don't. I want you to show up, have some vulnerability, and say, I don't know, or I'm not so sure about this, or I didn't include it because here's why. Tell us more about that. What's going on there? Some would perceive it as a weakness. You're saying, actually, no, that's a strength.
It depends how far along you are in reaching out for investment. Okay. If you're really serious and ready for investment, then you need to have the answers to those questions already in hand. So, as a very pre seed early stage startup, when you find yourself with those questions, and you'll get them when you, so for example, as I mentioned, when we do our screening committee, we will identify some of the questions and they will realize that, oh, I can't answer that. Then maybe you're not quite ready to do your pitch yet. So identifying some of those gaps ahead of time so that when you're in front of angel investors, you have the answers to those questions. And that's part of that checklist that we talked about too, that we are putting together. So if you have some questions, get confident with some of those answers, clean up your pitch, make it more concise, Be very clear, and then go in with confidence.
Okay. So know that you don't know what you don't know and do your best to fill in the dots. And I'm really hearing you say, hey, do your preparation, do your own due diligence, speak to other entrepreneurs that have gone down this path, go to that innovation hub, see what's going on there, ask for help. And so when it comes to putting together financial reports, what should we be looking for in terms of a person to do that, particularly if, as we're talking about here, a startup, to your point, they're not bringing on board a CFO, at least before they have funding. It's not going to be in that realm. So who should they be turning to that it's going to give them credibility, but it's not going to break the bank? What are you looking for?
They need an accountant, for sure. You need someone to do your year end anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have some tax reporting that needs to be done. So bring on board a very competent accountant. And there's also some very competent bookkeepers that specialize in small startups who have a team that will pull in members of their accounting team when your company needs it. Okay? And that's what I would look for. If I was starting up a company today, and that they are out there, I do know of a few that are very flexible in meeting the needs of a startup to provide as much or as little guidance as they need so that you're not doing it alone, but you're also not breaking the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know every penny counts. But the
Mm-hmm.
return on your investment by having a good bookkeeper or accounting team with you then also builds the foundation of your company that you need in order to grow. And if that financial foundation isn't there, then you will not be in business 5 years from now for sure.
And so, Doris, what I'm hearing you say, and again, Jeffrey, on base or off base, independent of whatever the financial numbers are showing, when you're looking at that founder who's pitching for some investment and you're asking, okay, do I have a chemistry with this founder and who is surrounding that founder? So if that founder has people who really aren't experienced in accounting, in financials that are doing the projections, that sounds like it's a big red X on your checklist. You are not giving that check mark, as opposed to a founder who's walking in and they have some respectable financial people around them. It could be an accounting firm. It doesn't have to be one of the big, I don't even know what we're up to these days, the top four, the six, three, whatever it is on the accounting side, but that they have a certified accountant that's part of the team and some financial people that are really helping in the background. That's part of what you're looking for.
For sure. Yes.
So what are you saying, Doris? That Chat GPT just isn't going to cut it, or my favorite AI bot isn't going to cut it in terms of my financials?
True. And QuickBooks and putting your numbers in yourself on Excel spreadsheets, please don't.
So this is where logos do make a difference, at least on the financial side, as part of the narrative of, hey, yeah, I've put my money where my mouth is. I have invested in the right people around me to really make that difference.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. I know what my costs are. I know what my potential revenue is. I know where profitability will be if it isn't already. And that's important.
And so, Doris, when you're writing the check, and this is where every angel investor is going to be different. For some angel investors, it's all about the profits. Hey, I want to put some capital into play here because I'm expecting a big ROI and I'm knowing out of 10 investments, I might lose eight, but the other two are going to make up for that. But for other angel investors, it's more than just the money. So, for you, a very personal question: why are you doing the angel investing? What's your, if I can use this, and I'm using air quotes since nobody can see the two of us, what's your return on investment above and beyond the numbers?
As I mentioned, the curiosity to keep learning about what's new and exciting, the innovation that's happening across the different industries. And I think right now, with so much that's happening with tariffs and trade relations, it's good to have an understanding of where we're going for the future and where can I help to impact that. So the investment side, I don't have a lot of money to invest. So I also see Angel One as the opportunity to meet new people, to provide some mentoring guidance, and to also encourage the startup companies to keep going.
Okay. And so, Doris, let me ask you this. And again, this is a Jeffrey on base, off base question. What I'm hearing you say is that narrative is so important. I don't have to necessarily be inventing an entirely new product or service or creating a new industry. I can take a tried and true industry, but I can find something that's novel, that's unique, put an interesting story around that, find a real world problem that isn't being addressed. And that's going to pique your interest of, hey, wow, I never knew in this industry that even existed, that you can even do this. That's part of the allure of what you're looking for, that you want to learn. You want to see what's going on that you otherwise wouldn't have known.
That's very true. It's a lot, in a lot of cases, it's a service or a product that already exists, but it's inferior or it's outdated. And these startups have found a way to reinvent, to redesign, to provide a new perspective. And quite often, it's not a brand new idea, but it's a better idea. And it's interesting to see what comes across.
Okay. So Default Nation, a lot there in terms of, Doris, what you're looking for, what you're not looking for. And Doris, when you look at your colleagues on Angel One, fellow investors, how different are they in terms of their approach or what they're looking for, their return on investment? I know every investor has their own nuances, their own quirks, if you will, like all of us do. Are they that different in terms of what we've been speaking about, or they're more or less similar to you?
They're very similar. None of us, well, maybe there's the odd one, but for the most part, we know we're not going to become multimillionaires.
Hmm.
Okay. That's not the reason that we became an angel investor. It would be wonderful if it happens. And for some, it may happen, and it does happen. But for most of us, it's the whole interaction of being able to participate in the entrepreneurial ecosystem where they need the help the most. That's the foundation of every economy worldwide, is the startup. If we don't have startups, we have no economy, we have no businesses. I remember when I first started my business, it was a business of one. That was just me. Okay. And I held many hats, and it's a lonely place. So to be successful and recognizing that angel investors can be a very big part of that success is what keeps me involved in the group.
Terrific. And Doris, before we go into wrap up mode, and you're a pro at this, but before we get there, are there particular questions? I know there's questions I haven't asked that we're just bumping up against some time here, but is there a question I haven't yet asked, or even a topic, a message, a theme that we haven't covered yet that you'd like to share with the Default Nation?
I guess what I would ask, and it's my ask, is to spread the word about the possibility of including angel investors in your conversations. That there are opportunities for entrepreneurs and startup companies to provide some additional support that they didn't even know was out there. And that we help in many ways, and it's not all about the money. And we would love to help where we can. And so, if you could introduce us, we welcome the introduction and we look forward to the possible discussions.
And Doris, what's interesting about that, because I'm now going full circle to how we started this conversation, and I'm just going to do a quick thought experiment with you. Maybe at the moment, I'm not looking for some angel investment, but I've identified you and your group, learned about you, and I'm now making the point to introduce you, your team, to other startups. And perhaps it works out, perhaps it doesn't. But down the road, should I need some kind of infusion of capital, and you already know me, and I've done this selfless act because it's not really doing it because down the road I know I'm going to need capital. Well, hey, I really like what Doris is doing. And hey, Tracy, I want you to speak to Doris over here because look at what she's doing at Angel One, and this could just be terrific. Or I'm speaking to friends. Hey, Tony, want you to meet Doris and team at Angel One. They can help you. You can have them invest in your company. I know you're just starting out, you're looking for some capital. When I'm doing that, when I'm spreading the word, I'm now getting to be known by you, even though we're not necessarily at this point directly interacting, but I'm building up some goodwill. I'm building up my network, and who knows where that's going to go. How am I doing with that?
No, that's true. And it is all about the network. And as I just to reinforce in the discussion around angel investors, in communicating not only to the startups and the young entrepreneurs, but also to those that have been in business for many years who are semi retired or retired. There are some great relationships that we can build together by recognizing some of the benefits to joining an Angel One group or connecting with an Angel One group.
So be the matchmaker, be the connector, but more
Yep.
importantly, let's follow the anthem for all entrepreneurs. Let's go the extra mile. Not because we expect something in return, but because we can and because we want to. I think
That's
that's
right.
terrific advice. Absolutely. So that said, Doris, my goodness, I've lost track. This is going to be your fourth or fifth kick at the can as we begin to wrap things up here. It's a tradition here on the Default Podcast, especially for the new members to the community, where it's my privilege, my honor for every guest. I ask the same question. Doris, you are a pro at this. Let me remind you of the question. It's a fun one. When you think of the movie Back to the Future, you have that magical DeLorean car that will take you to any point in time. So, Doris, it's tomorrow morning. You look outside your window. This is the fun part. Not only is the DeLorean car curbside, the door is open. It's waiting for you to hop on in, which you do. And you're now going to go back to any point in your life. Perhaps it's Doris as a teenager, a young child, whatever point in time it would be. What are you telling your younger self in terms of life wisdom, life lessons, or hey, Doris, do this, but don't do that? What would that sound like?
Okay, well, I'll give you a personal answer to that question. Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to go a little out of my comfort zone here. I am an introvert at heart. And with that, connecting with people hasn't always been easy for me. And when you're starting a business and growing a business, I have learned that saying hello and getting into a group of people, as we say, networking, is worth the effort.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it took me out of my comfort zone, there were so many times where I would go to an event or go to a new group
Mm-hmm.
and I would end up meeting someone or connecting with someone that was so interesting, that shared some like values, some like ideas, or offered to make an introduction. It was so often that I would come away going, I'm glad I went.
Wow.
So that's what I would tell my younger self.
Doris, speaking as an introvert myself, I suppose I'm a business extrovert. On the personal side, I'm definitely an introvert.
Yeah,
What I'm hearing you saying it resonates is, hey, stretch your comfort zone, go out, meet new people, make the effort.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And it reminds me what my grandfather, may he rest in peace, what he always said was, Jeffrey, is not who you are, it's who you know. And isn't that the truth?
Yes, yes. And never be afraid to say hello.
Never be afraid to say hello. Really like that. And so, Doris, we're really stretching. Okay, well, I don't have to be quiet over here. I can go over, say hello, introduce myself. You never know where that's going to go. Deep Wealth
Mhm.
Nation, that is truly words from the wise for the wise. And what a great takeaway coming out of today's episode. Hey, just walk up, say hello. And I'm thinking back now, Doris, some people that have done that where I've been too shy to say hello. They've come up and said hello. And we've had a great conversation. But my initial thoughts of the person was, wow, what a brave person. I really admire that person for coming
Yeah,
over to say hello. And
true.
it's
Yeah.
being vulnerable because we could get rejected, but we're still doing it anyways.
Well, we learn as we're older that we don't always care about rejection as much anymore. We just move on.
That we do. And Doris, for someone in the Deep Wealth Nation, they have a question. They want to speak to you about perhaps Angel One being an investor in what they're doing in their company or some advice from you. Where would be the best place online to reach you?
Oh, they can reach me through LinkedIn, definitely, or they can reach me directly through my website or even just an email. I do check my emails. I do read my emails. And that's Doris, Doris, at malabargroup.ca.
Okay. Well, Deep Health Nation, the great news is it doesn't get any easier. It's all in the show notes. It's a point and click. And here you have Doris, who's a post exit entrepreneur. She had a brilliant exit and who now is an advisor, not only for post exit entrepreneurs, but for startups, for founders. And she's giving you her email. She's making the offer to, hey, be the brave one. Say hello to her. Well, why not do that? Again, it's all in the show notes. It's a point and click. And Doris, it's official. Congratulations. This is a wrap. And as we love to say here at Deep Wealth, may you always continue to thrive and prosper while you remain healthy and safe. Thank you so much.
Thoroughly enjoyed today.
So there you have it, Deep Wealth Nation. What did you think? So with all that said, and as we wrap it up, I have another question for you. Actually, it's more of a personal favor. Did you find this episode helpful? Have you found other episodes of the Deep Wealth Podcast empowering and a game changer for your journey? And if you said yes, and I really hope you did, I have a small but really meaningful way that you can actually help us out and keep these episodes coming to you. Are you ready for it? The dramatic pause. I'll just wait a moment. Drum roll, please. Subscribe. Please subscribe to the Deep Wealth Podcast on your favorite podcast channel. When you subscribe to the Deep Wealth Podcast, you're saving yourself time. Every episode automatically comes to you. And I want you to know that we meticulously craft every one of our episodes to have impactful strategies, stories, expert insights that are designed to help you grow your profits, increase the value of your business, and yes, even optimize your post-exit life and your life right now, whatever you want that to look like. And every time you subscribe and a fellow entrepreneur subscribes, it's a testament to how together, yes, we are changing the social fabric of society. one business owner at a time, one liquidity event at a time. So don't let the momentum stop here. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast channel. You'll never miss an episode. You'll be the first to hear from the top industry leaders, the innovators, the disruptors that are really changing and shaping the business world. And maybe you're commuting, maybe you're at the gym, maybe you're taking a well-deserved break that we spoke all about on this episode. The Deep Wealth Podcast, it's your reliable source for the next big idea that could literally revolutionize your business. So once again, please hit that subscribe button, stay connected, inspired, and ahead of the curve. And again, your next big breakthrough moment, it might just be one episode away. Maybe it was even this episode. So all that said, thank you so much for listening. And remember, your wealth isn't just about the money in the bank. It's about the depth of your journey and the impact that you're creating. So let's continue this journey together. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for listening to this episode. And as we love to say here at Deep Wealth, may you continue to thrive and prosper while you remain healthy and safe. Thank you so much. God bless.